It's now time to welcome back Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains in Penrith for our weekly finance segment. And Rob, today we're going to be talking about buying residential property.
That's right.
Rob, the Sydney property market, including the Blue Mountains, is still fairly heated. What are the problems of buying property in this market?
Yeah, I think the big danger is that you can end up paying more than you really should be paying, or more than you want to pay. So I think that's what most of my clients are finding as they're going out to buy property. There's more buyers out there than there are properties. And the hard thing with property is it's usually an emotional buy, particularly if it's an owner-occupied property. You kind of connect emotionally, and before you know it, there's a bit of a bidding war going on, and you've paid a lot more than you expected to. So the problem with that is, I guess the first one is no one wants to be paying too much for a property. Now, how do you work out what it's worth? A market value has a range, and I suppose the danger is that you might be paying at the upper end of that range. Which might be okay if you really want the property, but it can create issues when the valuer comes to value the property. And the valuer might decide that it's actually worth less. And if you've got a big deposit and a high income, it may not be an issue, but if it's a high lend, it could create a lot of problems for you. I had one client a couple of months ago who bought a property for $660,000. The valuer valued it at $600,000, and it was going to be an 80% loan with no mortgage insurance. Because of that lower valuation, it meant the lend went to about 88%, which involved about a $10,000 mortgage insurance that got added onto the loan. So
Wow.
it made it a lot more expensive. And I think the other danger is that people are buying beyond their affordability. And it might be affordable now while interest rates are low, but we've got to remember they're not going to stay low. So we do have to be very, very careful.
Okay, Rob, so what would your advice be to property buyers in order to avoid this happening?
Yeah, I think you've got to be really practical about it. Because buying property is emotional, I think do the practical things first before you start looking at properties and getting emotionally hooked. So I think it means meeting with a mortgage broker, not only checking out your finance in terms of what you can qualify for, so you need to be pre-qualified, but also having a discussion about what is comfortable for you. So it's one thing to qualify for a loan, but what's comfortable, and your mortgage broker should talk with you about that, so that you're getting a loan that you really feel is affordable. And the other thing that you need to do, I think, is research. And again, someone like myself and probably other mortgage brokers would have access to RP data. I know for all my clients, when they're looking for properties, if they're looking at a particular property, I can provide them with reports on that property, a computerised valuation. It is computerised, but it gives a guide, and a comparative market appraisal, which kind of gives you a feel for the market. And armed with that kind of information gives you power. And I actually had a client last week, and that information helped her in her negotiation, because she had the information, and the agent tries to tell you one thing, but when you've got the information, it puts you in a much better position for negotiation.
That's right. It's better to be educated, and certainly if you're going to spend the sort of money you do on a house, do your homework first. What do you think of Talking Heads? Do you like Talking Heads, Rob?
Talking Heads?
Talking Heads, the band.
I don't know. I've heard of them. What do they sing, Vin?
What do they sing? Well, one of the things that they sing is a little track called Wild, Wild Life. So
Okay,
let's play that.
Let's listen to it. Eh?
Okay.
Talking Heads with Wild, Wild Life. And we're back with Rob Lees. Rob, once you've found a property you like, what are the next steps in the process?
Well, there's normally a negotiation that goes on. So you would start with an offer, putting an offer to the agent. Again, look at your research, get an idea what the value is, and normally the agent would take your offer to the vendor, and the vendor can decide as to whether they'll accept or reject the offer. Sometimes they'll come back with a counter offer, or they might just reject it and you come back with a counter offer. Then once you've agreed on a price, it's really important that you actually sign the contract, and you do what's called a conditional exchange of contracts. And that condition is a cooling off period. So you have a right to at least a 5-day cooling off period. Normally that's extended to 10. And that takes the property off the market. Sometimes the agents just take your money, but they don't get you to sign the contract, and they can keep showing the property to other buyers, and you can get gazumped. So it's very important to do that conditional exchange. Then there's 3 things you need to do. You need to get your finance organised, you need to line up a conveyancer, you need to get a pest and building inspection, and when all of those things come through, finance approval, contracts okay, and the pest and building report's okay, then you're ready to formally exchange contracts. That's when the ownership transfers, and the risk doesn't transfer till settlement, which is about 4 weeks after that.
Terrific. All right, Rob, thank you again for joining us on the show. That's Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains in Penrith, and you can contact them on 47399749 or visit their office at 3/13 Hope Street in Blaxland, and we'll see you again next week, Rob.